Hey everybody, Alex Kazora, SteelersDepot.com, back with some Pittsburgh Steelers tape breakdown and analysis. A lot of talk about the Steelers offense and all the struggles and pitfalls they're dealing with right now, and rightfully a lot of criticism being, shared their way. The big question that the two names that people are blaming the most are quarterback Mitchell Trubisky and offensive coordinator Matt Canada. So in today's video, I want to break down several plays from Sunday's loss to the Patriots and really try to define what's on the quarterback and what's on the OC. What's being called, what's the progression, what's the context, and what ultimately is the decision the quarterback is making. Too often, we try to evaluate quarterback play with the benefit of hindsight, with snapshots and photos, and not understanding what is a quarterback being asked to do, what is the read, the progression on the play, and really ultimately where does the blame ultimately lie and fall. And so that's what I want to do today because, as is typical, there's blame to go around. Some issues Sunday to me were more Canada-based. Some issues Sunday were more Trubisky-based. I want to talk about both today. I'm starting with Matt Canada, and some of these examples aren't necessarily direct critiques of Canada calling bad plays, but really think of it more as Trubisky working within the structure and the progression of the play and working based off the defensive coverage and what they're giving him and what they're showing him. So the first play here is going to come early in this game. Pittsburgh's going to run what's called a Yankee concept. I'll put up an image right now that shows the base concept of what Yankee means. Essentially, two crossing routes, two deeper crossing routes, two over routes, or a post and an over, something like that. To bring it back to the Patriots game, the Steelers out of this 3-by-1 formation are going to run the Yankee concept with a post. So it's kind of a more over routes from the receiver here, Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool. They're going to kind of cross deep downfield on a pair of over routes, and George Pickens to the bottom, the Z receiver, is going to run the post. And so that's the actual concept here on this play. Evaluating quarterbacks and progressions and structure and decisions is tough to do, myself included, but I'm going to try to present what appears to be Trubisky's thought process and what he's seeing here on this play. First thing you do is you want to get a feel for what the actual coverage may be based on the pre-snap look. And so usually you're going to read the safeties first and see how they're aligned and rotated, 2 high versus 1 high. Mike Sullivan calls it the family of coverages, the basic level coverages you're going to see, the framework you're going to see on a down-to-down basis in the NFL. Pre-snap, 2 high look here for the Patriots. Potential, could be cover 2, safeties aligned tighter, could be cover 4. You want to pay close attention to the linebackers here, and what Mike Sullivan refers to it as they're bossed. And I'll go to the end zone view here for a second. They're shifted towards the tight end. If they're shifted towards the tight end, it's basically called a bossed alignment. And what that can do is it can kind of tell you if you're going to get zone, where that zone dropper may be. Check it out here. 30 and 8 are bossed to the tight end, to Pat Freiermuth. And so if you're getting zone on this play, there's going to be somebody dropping into this weak side hook zone because the linebackers are shifted and bossed to the tight end on this play. And you're going to run a little bit of return motion here from Pat Freiermuth. Linebackers aren't really running with him and moving with him, so you might be getting zone coverage here. So it could be potentially cover 3, where it would make sense for the safety to drop down into that, vacated weak side zone here, and the safety to rotate to the middle of the field. So you're trying to get a feel for, is it going to be basically the idea of, is it middle of the field open in the sense of a 2 high look, or is it middle of the field closed in a 1 high look? And that kind of dictates where you can and can't go with the football. Okay, let's actually snap the football here. And on the snap of the football, you're going to get a bit of a rotation here from this 2 high look in what becomes actually cover 3, a single high look with the free safety here, Devin McCourty being that post safety in the middle of the field. And this is a kind of variation on cover 3 where the safety doesn't drop down. He becomes basically the deep third guy here, and this corner becomes that more, weak side, curl flat hook defender. And so we're going to watch this one through, and they're going to present 2 high pre-snap, but this becomes a 3 deep structure, and this is middle of the field close. That safety between the hashes, it's really hard to throw those kind of post routes and things that are going to attack the middle of the field when it's closed with this single high free safety. And so what Trubisky's reading here is pre-snap, potentially have too high. If I have too high, I can throw that post because the middle of the field will be open, and he's going to split those safeties, Pickens will, and be open between the numbers. And so that is Trubisky's first read here. But whenever they shift to that single high look here on the snap of the football, again, that becomes middle of the field closed, and you really can't throw that post. It is a skinnier post, and so, you could try to argue that maybe a little bit more than a traditional post, but that is Trubisky's read on this play is this is going to be single high. Cornerback does have outside leverage because he's funneling the receiver to his help here on the inside. And so I really can't throw that post because, and McCourty's a really good safety at 35 years old. I got to come off that read. I got to find something else. And so that's what happens here when he ends up hitting the check down to Pat Freiermuth. So I'm going to watch this one from the end zone angle and kind of watch Trubisky's eyes and progression on this play. And so again, bit of that return motion, trying to maybe uncover man versus zone. And then Trubisky on the snap of the football, I think he is looking at that post downfield, but sees that, middle of the field is closed here. Not going to be able to make this throw. This Yankee concept is not going to be great against single high. And so with the Patriots playing that more loose zone, keeping everything in front, Trubisky, I think a good decision here to hit the check down to Pat Freiermuth. But again, you're reading the coverage. It may look open on this play, and yes, the safety does end up cutting this crosser a bit, but Trubisky can't be on this post the entire time because his safety may stay single high and pick up Pickens on this post. Once you make that read that the middle of the field is closed, you got to come off it, and you got to find something else because you don't have all day in the pocket. The pocket's, decently clean. There's plate pressure there, but, once you make that decision and that read that post route is not going to be available, you got to find something else. You got to work the progression. You got to go to a secondary read, and so that's what happens here. So with the benefit of hindsight, sure, you would love to say hit Pickens on the post. McCourty ends up cutting the crosser here from Claypool, but that's not really how football works. It's not how progressions and reads work, and there's a timing element to the NFL. And so here, honestly, I'm sure people will disagree. I think this is a good decision by Mitch Trubisky. Next example, and I heard this one so many times during the game and on Twitter that George Pickens was wide open on this wheel route and Mitch Trubisky should have hit him. And I understand that, and you can argue it, but you have to understand the context, the progression, the structure of this system. And I think this Canada run offense is pretty limited, pretty rigid, pretty small menu of plays, not a lot of concepts, to be honest with you, from what I've seen so far. So let's talk about this play. Pickens going in motion here on the snap. This will be play action, a split flow here, faking the split zone with Pat Freiermuth, 88, going into the flat. And they run this, boot and play into the flat in a bunch of different ways with boots and rollouts and the split flow action here. And this is a low to high read. This is going to be something they do every single time. Whenever that guy gets in the flat, he is always the first read, always the primary progression. If he is open, you hit him. That is the structure of the Matt Canada run offense. The only time you go to secondary reads on plays like this is if that first read, that guy in the flat, is not available. And that's what happens here. So, yes, you can argue Pickens getting open on that wheel, but as soon as Freiermuth gets open here in the flat, Trubisky's going to hit him. That is the read. That is the progression, low to high, and it does nearly pick up the first down. So, and I think, honestly, it's probably a bit tougher throw than people give it credit for. Could you make that throw? Sure. But is it going to be a pretty good distance? And with the cornerback here, he may drive on that football if you're throwing it vertically downfield. Trubisky will be doing that off platform. I think it is a bit harder than people might give it credit for. Could you make it? Sure, you could, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But what is the progression on the play? Freiermuth never got open. Then Trubisky's going to work downfield. He's going to work his secondary reads on this play. But this is a low to high read. Some teams will read it high to low and try to get that vertical shot and get that big play. And if it's not there, then they're going to hit the underneath progression in the route, in the concept. But Canada, always low to high read, going to hit the flat. Freiermuth is open. And that is probably one of the arguable drawbacks of the Canada run system. It is about taking a profit, being conservative, just taking what the defense gives you. Don't do too much. Don't make a mistake. Got a good defense. Got a good kicker. Let's just play field position and things like that. So that to me is a more direct criticism of Canada and what he's looking out of his quarterback. Play within structure. First read's open. Hit it. Don't try to make the hero play and stuff like that. And that's the system that Trubisky is trying to work through right now. And it does pass up opportunities like potentially hitting Pickens on this wheel, instead hitting Freiermuth underneath as that primary read on this play. Now, there's no question up in the booth where Matt Canada sits that he saw Pickens potentially get open on that wheel. So just a little bit later in the game, they came back to this concept. Matt Canada did not run a lot of concepts in this game. He kind of ran the same stuff over and over and over again, and you're going to see this here. Split flow action, Pickens on the motion. It is dressed up the same exact way as that last example. The difference here is, I think, in a rare exception, they are potentially looking for that wheel route to George Pickens. The way that Trubisky rolls out and kind of sets, instead of really rolling, he's kind of really planting his feet. I think he wanted to try to see if Pickens would get open again. But in the NFL, the Patriots saw Pickens get open too, I'm sure. They played this a lot better, and ultimately Pickens was well covered by the defensive back. And then Trubisky really had nowhere to go with the football. The flat is basically, not really available. It's pretty much taken away. You're not going to get that easy, hit him in stride and turn up field action the way you saw in the last play. And then Trubisky, not really sure why he went left. There's nothing there, just trying to escape, I guess, but takes the sack. But they try to come back to this, and it was taken away. But I just want to talk about what they tried to do initially, which was kind of very much within their structure, within the framework of their offense, the low-high read. They did try to come back to it. New England adjusted because they were kind of one step ahead in a lot of these scenarios here. Again, I think Trubisky wanted it maybe initially. Nothing was there. And then he has to eat this football and take the sack. Okay, now let's talk about plays where blame can directly be assigned to Mitch Trubisky. This is maybe the best example of them all. This is a third down situation in the red zone. You're facing 3rd and 4, down 3-0. Got a chance here to try to punch this one in and take the lead. So 2-by-2 formation. Watch Claypool, the number 2 receiver, to the open side, the field side of the formation. He's going to run an out route to the sticks, and he's open. And Trubisky sees him and just does not hit him and takes the sack instead. And that is a clear miss by Trubisky. Yes, there's some pressure, but you got to get this ball out. The guy's open. The first read's open. That would have been a first down. Maybe he breaks a tackle or turns upfield, gets in the end zone. He's a big guy overall, Claypool is, and he's got to be able to make that throw. And so I don't know why Trubisky ate this football. Yes, there's pressure. That's going to happen in the NFL. He's got enough of a pocket right here. Right here, back foot hits. Claypool's open on the out. The cornerback's inside. It's man coverage. He's trailing. He's out leverage. That ball has to be out right there. There's not really any pressure. There's a guy coming, but that's the NFL. He's 5 yards away. You got to make this throw. I don't know why he ate the football here. This is a first down. This is probably a touchdown, to be honest, to Chase Claypool. This is 7 points you're passing up on 3rd down to take the sack there. You kind of see the reaction from Johnson, Claypool saying, both those guys could have been open. Claypool especially, maybe Deontay, but definitely at least Claypool on this play. And I don't know why Trubisky did not pull the trigger. And that was a really brutal sack that he took that he should not have taken, and it really cost Pittsburgh on this play. We'll look at it from the end zone view, and you won't see Claypool here, obviously, but Trubisky has time to get this football out. Yes, there's a stunt, and he gets free, but you got to make a throw in the face of pressure. It was open, and that is a big missed opportunity by Mitch Trubisky. And just to hammer the point home a little bit further, on the very next drive, they come back to the same exact concept. 2-by-2, Claypool's going to run the out route, and Trubisky on 3rd and 4, just like before, is going to hit Claypool at the sticks for the first down. A good throw, a good catch, and you convert. But that really shows, like that last rep, identified that Trubisky has to hit Claypool on the out here. And this is even a tougher throw. The last throw was easier. It was a freer access for sure. And so, it was good to see Trubisky rebound and convert the next time. But why make that mistake the first time? You're not a rookie. This isn't Kenny Pickett or somebody, starting their first game that's going to make a mistake and you come back to it. This is a veteran guy that should be making that play routinely. And so just want to show that because, again, it shows Matt Canada did not call a lot of plays in this game in terms of different concepts. It was kind of the same 5, 6, 7 different ideas, philosophies, and calls. But on this example, Trubisky does execute, but did not do it on that red zone play that cost his team points. I want to break down the interception that Trubisky threw he's thrown all year, the first interception a Steelers quarterback has thrown all year long. So certainly worth talking about. Going to be off of play action here. Patriots playing cover 2, and Mitch Trubisky does not see the linebacker, Mack Wilson, or at least thinks he can fit that pass behind him, and just too tight of a window, just a really forced throw overall. Trubisky admitted that after the game. What happened here was the Bengals did this really well last week. I think Pittsburgh was trying to take a page out of the Bengals playbook and run the in cut behind play action. The idea being you get the linebackers to come up and step up on that play fake, and then you run the in cut behind. Jamar Chase had a couple of big catches off of that last weekend. The Patriots not fooled here. Linebackers don't suck up. They get depth, and Wilson makes a really good diving play overall. So the one downside to play action is the quarterback turns his back to the football. He can't really read the linebackers. He's trying to react and process, not while he's dropping back, but as he's turning around off the play fake. And so it's a late process, a poor process here overall. To look at it from the end zone view, and again, just watching Trubisky turn his back to the defense, try to read and process. Linebackers, they don't take the cheese. They don't step up. They get depth overall, and Wilson makes a good play, but a throw that Trubisky simply should not make. He's looking at it, trying to lean, like, can I get that one past him? And does not happen and gets tipped and picked off by Jalen Mills. And so that's very much on Trubisky, just a bad read play action, not seeing the coverage well, and then just making a bad decision, forcing that throw. If there's one overarching criticism of Mitch Trubisky through the first 2 weeks, it's been he's taken a lot of bad and unnecessary sacks. That's kind of been, I think, my biggest issue with him overall. In week one, he took a 2-yard loss instead of throwing the football away that turned a, should be 2nd and 10 into 2nd and 12. And he took a bad sack in the Steelers' attempted 2-minute drill at the end of the first half on Sunday against New England. This is 13 seconds left here, trying to get in the field goal range, maybe kick a field goal before halftime, and Trubisky doesn't see anything he likes, rolls to his left, and instead of throwing this football away, which he definitely should have done, just takes the sack instead. So you're losing yards, you're burning clock. I don't know why he did not throw this football away. He's just trying to do a bit too much overall. So I'm not too worried about the concept here overall, but he's escaping instead of trying to throw this football away. It's probably tougher because he's going left and he's holding the ball in his left hand, which is not going to help you throw the ball. He's a right-handed quarterback, but overall, cannot take a sack here. Got to throw this football away, and he just does not. And I don't know what he was trying to do. I guess he was trying to get out of bounds, but you're still losing, a lot of yards here. So I don't know what the intent was. He, again, took that bad sack on 3rd and 4 in the red zone we talked about earlier. Took a sack last week that shouldn't have been a sack. That's one thing where he's a mobile quarterback, but trying to be too mobile, I guess, and trying to do a bit too much, and it really cost him here. So overall, just want to talk about, framework of the offense and progressions and what is a quarterback trying to read. And of course, I'm not in the guy's head either. I don't know, this playbook fully, but I want to try to give grace and at least think about what is the quarterback thinking? What is he seeing? What's the progression on the play? Yes, guys can be open, but if the progression takes you somewhere else based on coverage or what the play call is, you're not always going to see that stuff. Again, benefit of hindsight and the eye in the sky. Those are things a quarterback does not have in live action. So I just think it's important to talk about that. There is blame on Canada. There is blame on Trubisky. It's not one or the other. And I wanted to at least break this down and talk about what some of the issues were with Canada and the structure of the offense. And then obviously on Trubisky, just some of the actual mistakes that to me lie squarely on him. Both guys will be in their position Thursday night. Trubisky starting, Canada calling. Hopefully he gets better. I have issues with Canada. I may do a video on that later this week. The offense just felt super limited overall in terms of the play calls. There were just so many calls repeated over and over and over again. Didn't like that, but the overall idea being it's a conservative offense. It's a take-a-profit offense. There are some pros to that, but you're not going to get the aggressive plays. You have guys playing really within structure, and it's not allowing for some of those deeper concepts to open up. And I think, frankly, Canada's calling some middle-of-the-field type routes, the Yankee concepts, against single high. So it's probably some scouting adjustments that have to be made as well in terms of what are we expecting to see, what coverage do we think we're going to get, because he's calling stuff that's not going to work against the coverage that's being shown, and that's a problem going forward. So a lot of information. Hopefully I explained it reasonably well. If you have questions, please let me know in the comments below. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. I would certainly appreciate that. Again, thank you guys for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.